The morning light crept through the small apartment's blinds, casting long shadows across a messy living space. Jai Park sat at his computer, fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. Outside, the city of New Seoul buzzed with early morning traffic. No one would have guessed that this ordinary-looking man was anything but a typical computer worker. Jai was 35 years old, with short black hair that was slightly messy and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He wore a simple gray t-shirt and comfortable pants. His apartment looked like any other in the busy city. A small kitchen with unwashed dishes, a work desk covered in computer screens, and a worn leather jacket hanging by the door. Most people who knew Jai would describe him as quiet. He worked from home as a cybersecurity consultant, spending most of his days solving complex computer problems for big companies. His neighbors thought he was just another tech worker who kept to himself. They had no idea about his past. 5 years ago, Jai had been something completely different. He was a special forces operative who had completed a mission so secret that only a handful of people knew about it. That mission had changed everything, not just for him, but for several alien civilizations that most humans didn't even know existed. On this particular morning, Jai's computer pinged. A small notification appeared in the corner of his screen. Most people would have ignored it, but Jai's hand froze mid-typing. The message was encrypted, using a code that only 3 people in the entire world knew. Something was wrong. He leaned closer to the screen, his fingers moving quickly. Lines of code flashed across multiple monitors. To an ordinary person, it would have looked like complete nonsense. But to Jai, it was a language as clear as spoken words. The encryption was a warning. Someone was looking for him. Jai stood up and walked to the window. He pulled back the curtain just enough to look outside. The street below looked normal. People walking to work, delivery trucks moving slowly, a few taxicabs waiting for passengers. But Jai saw more than just the surface. Years of training had taught him to read a street like other people read books. He could tell if something was out of place, and right now, something felt different. His hand moved almost automatically to a small device, hidden behind a picture frame. It was a custom-made scanner that could detect various types of electronic and biological tracking devices. Jai switched it on and watched the readings carefully. Nothing showed up immediately, but that didn't mean anything. In his kitchen, hidden behind a loose tile near the sink, was a small case. Most people would have thought it was just an old toolbox. Jai opened it carefully. Inside were several items that didn't belong to a normal computer consultant. A specialized communication device, a set of carefully maintained tools, and a small weapon that looked more like advanced technology than a traditional gun. Joe closed the case and returned to his computer. He began to write a series of messages, using encryption methods that would make most government security systems look like child's play. Whatever was coming, he would be ready. Outside, a delivery truck moved slowly down the street. Its windows were tinted, and nothing about it looked unusual. But if Jai had looked closer, he might have noticed that the truck's license plate changed subtly every few minutes. The hunt was about to begin. Thousands of miles above Earth, inside a ship that looked more like a floating metal shadow, the Crimson Talons prepared for their mission. The ship's interior was cold and dark, with strange blue lights that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Coral, the team leader, stood at the center of the main deck. He was a reptilian creature with skin that looked like polished green metal. His eyes were sharp and gold, with vertical pupils that could see things humans could never imagine. When he moved, it was like watching a predator calculate its next move. "Target acquired," announced Vreen, the team's camouflage expert. Vreen was unlike anything from Earth, a silicon-based life form that could blend into any background. Its body looked like living crystal, constantly shifting and changing color. Right now, it was studying a holographic image of Jai Park. Nexus, the team's cybernetic warrior, stood close by. Half machine, half living being, Nexus had more technology in its body than most advanced computers. Metal plates covered parts of its skin, and weapon systems could pop out from multiple points on its body. Its eyes glowed with a soft blue light that scanned information faster than any human computer. "The target is isolated," Nexus reported. Its voice was a mix of human speech and electronic sounds. No significant protective systems detected. Mission should be straightforward. Razor, the shapeshifter, laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against metal. Its body was liquid-like, able to change shape in seconds. From a tall humanoid form, Razor could become anything: a table, a wall, or a deadly weapon. Straightforward. Razor's voice was mocking. "That's what they said about the last 10 targets. Remember how that went." Shadowblade, the most mysterious member of the team, remained silent. This quantum-phasing assassin could move between different dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will. Its body was barely visible, more like a dark outline that shifted between reality and something else. Coral raised a hand, and everyone became quiet. "We are not here to joke," he said. His voice was deep and carried a tone that made even his own team members straighten up. "This target is different. 5 years ago, he destroyed something important. Our employer wants him eliminated." The holographic image of J. Park rotated slowly. To the Crimson Talons, he looked like an ordinary human. Just another target. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "Approach plan," Coral continued, "will be multi-stage. Vreen will scout first. Infiltration, not destruction. We need information before we kill." Vreen's crystal-like body began to shift, becoming almost invisible. The camouflage technology was so advanced that it could bend light around its body. In seconds, Vreen would look exactly like anything in the room, or become completely invisible. Nexus began uploading attack protocols. Thousands of potential entry points into Jay's systems were being analyzed. Electronic weapons charged, biological tracking systems activated. On the ship's main screen, Earth looked small and blue. Just another planet. Just another mission. But this mission was going to be different. None of them knew it yet, but J. Park was not going to be an easy target. The hunt was about to begin. J. Park knew something was coming. His fingers moved quickly across multiple keyboard screens, setting up layers of digital protection that would make most security systems look like child's play. In the corner of his apartment, a small device began to beep. It was nothing like a normal alarm. This was a custom-built early warning system that Jay had created during his years in Special Forces. Most people would have seen just a small black box. But this box could detect multiple types of electronic signatures, biological traces, and quantum disturbances. He walked to the kitchen and pulled out a special toolbox. From the outside, it looked old and worn. But when Jay opened it, the inside was anything but ordinary. Carefully arranged were tools that seemed to come from another world. Specialized communication devices, small machines that could disable almost any electronic system. And hidden beneath a false bottom, a weapon that looked more like advanced technology than a traditional gun. Jay's apartment was about to become a trap. He began to move furniture, but not in a way that looked like preparation for defense. To anyone watching, it would seem completely random. A chair moved slightly to the left. A small table shifted just a few inches. But each movement was calculated with military precision. Thin wires, almost invisible to the naked eye, were carefully placed behind walls and under carpets. These were not ordinary wires. They were nanotechnology sensors that could detect the slightest movement or change in air pressure. They could track anything that wasn't supposed to be there. Near the windows, Jay installed special panels. They looked like normal window coverings, but they were actually advanced electronic shields. They could block various types of scanning technologies and create false readings for anyone trying to get information from inside the apartment. The communication device on his desk began to pulse with a soft blue light. Jay ignored it for now. He knew exactly what it meant. Someone was trying to trace his digital footprint, but the signal was going exactly where he wanted it to go. In the bathroom, Behind the mirror, Jay placed a series of small devices. They looked like nothing more than old electronic components, but each one was a specialized tool designed to disable different types of advanced tracking and weapon systems. His phone buzzed. A message appeared, encrypted in a code that would look like nonsense to anyone else. Jay read it quickly and smiled. An old contact from his military days was giving him additional information about the incoming threat. The Crimson Talons thought they were hunting him, but Jay was preparing to hunt them. Hours passed. The apartment transformed. To an untrained eye, nothing looked different, but every inch was now a potential trap. Electronic systems were layered with false signals. Walls had hidden sensors. The floor could become an electronic weapon at a moment's notice. Jay sat down and took a deep breath. He checked his special communication device one more time. Everything was ready. Outside, the city continued to move. People walked past his building, never knowing what was about to happen. A delivery truck moved slowly down the street. Its windows were tinted. Inside, something was watching. The hunt was about to begin. The night was quiet, too quiet. Vreen moved like a ghost through the walls of Jay's apartment building. Its silicon-based body could become almost invisible, shifting colors and textures to match any surface. To human eyes, it would have looked like nothing more than a strange shadow moving between walls. Inside Jay's apartment, everything seemed normal. The lights were dim. A computer screen showed a half-finished work document. A jacket hung by the door. But something was different. The air felt heavy, charged. Vreen reached out with sensors that could detect the smallest changes in temperature, air pressure, and electronic signals. Something was wrong. The apartment felt like a trap, but Vreen couldn't understand why. Slowly, carefully, the alien assassin began to move inside the apartment. Its body could pass through solid objects, becoming as thin as a piece of paper. One moment it was part of the wall. The next it was sliding across the floor like a liquid. Then it happened. A thin wire, invisible to most eyes, suddenly became active. It was a nano-wire trap, designed to detect even the slightest movement. The moment Vreen touched it, the entire apartment came alive. Sudden bursts of high-frequency sound waves exploded from hidden speakers. The sound was designed to disrupt silicon-based life forms. It was like 1,000 knives cutting through Vreen's body. Electromagnetic pulses fired from hidden generators, creating a field that made it impossible for Vreen to maintain its camouflage. Vreen tried to move, but couldn't. The carefully designed trap was working perfectly. Small robotic devices emerged from hidden panels in the walls and floor. They looked like small metal spiders, each one packed with advanced scanning and neutralization technology. The room was no longer an apartment. It was a technological nightmare. Jay watched everything through hidden cameras. He had known exactly how the first attack would come. The Crimson Talons thought they were hunting him, but he was 3 steps ahead. Vreen's body began to break down. Its advanced camouflage technology was being systematically destroyed by Jay's carefully prepared defenses. What had looked like an impossible invasion was now turning into a complete failure. Outside the apartment, the night remained calm. No one would know what had just happened. Jay's communication device buzzed. A message appeared, encrypted in a code that would look like nonsense to anyone else. The first attacker had been neutralized. But this was just the beginning. The Crimson Talons would not give up easily. In the darkness of the apartment, small robotic devices continued to move. They were collecting data, analyzing every piece of Vreen's technology. Jay was learning about his enemy with each passing moment. 1 down. 4 more to go. The hunt was far from over. The city of New Seoul never slept. Lights flickered in windows. Cars moved along busy streets, but something was different tonight. Nexus, the cybernetic warrior of the Crimson Talons, prepared for the next attack. After Vreen's failure, the team knew they needed a new plan. Nexus was their best weapon, part machine, part living being, with more technology in its body than most advanced computers. Jay Park was already moving. He left his apartment through a hidden exit. To anyone watching, it would have looked like he was just another person walking down a busy street. But Jay was anything but normal. Years of special forces training had taught him how to move without being seen. The city became his battlefield. Jay used every piece of technology around him. Traffic cameras, public Wi-Fi networks, street sensors. Each became a tool in his defense. He was creating a moving shield, making it impossible for the Crimson Talons to track him accurately. Nexus began its digital attack. Powerful computer systems tried to break into every electronic signal around Jay. But Jay was ready. He had prepared for this moment for years. A coffee shop, a public library, an underground parking lot. Jay moved quickly, using each location to break his digital trail. Small devices hidden in his clothing created false electronic signatures. To digital tracking systems, he looked like 10 different people in 10 different locations. Nexus grew frustrated. Each time the cybernetic warrior thought it had found Jay, the target would disappear. It was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. The city streets became a complex game of hide and seek. Jay knew every camera, every sensor, every possible tracking method. He had spent years preparing for a moment like this. Suddenly, Jay's phone buzzed. A message appeared, but not like a normal text. This was an encrypted communication that would look like nonsense to anyone else. An old contact was giving him additional information about the Crimson Talons. Nexus tried another approach. It began to hack into city systems, traffic lights, public transportation networks, security cameras. But each time it got close, Jay was already gone. The battle was no longer just physical. It was a war of technology and strategy. In a small electronics store, Jay quickly changed his appearance. A baseball cap, a different jacket. To anyone watching, he would look like a completely different person, but his eyes remained the same, always watching, always calculating. Nexus was losing control of the situation. The cybernetic warrior realized something important. Jay Park was not just a target. He was a hunter. Every move was calculated. Every action had a purpose. Night began to fall over New Seoul. The city's lights created a complex landscape of shadows and technology. Jay continued to move, always one step ahead. The hunt was far from over, and Jay was just getting started. Nexus thought it had the upper hand. The cybernetic warrior prepared for a direct digital assault on Jay Park's systems. Its body was more computer than flesh, with weapon systems that could hack into almost any technology. But Jay was waiting. The digital attack began in a burst of electronic signals. Millions of data packets fired through invisible networks. Nexus believed it could break through any defense. Its technology was supposed to be the most advanced in the galaxy. Jay let the first wave of attack happen. Inside a small internet cafe, Jay sat quietly. To other customers, he looked like just another person working on a laptop. But his fingers moved with impossible speed. Each keystroke was a defensive move, a counterattack carefully planned years in advance. Nexus pushed harder. Digital weapons tried to break through Jay's electronic defenses. But something was wrong. With each attack, Nexus was giving away more information than it was receiving. Jay was not blocking the attack. He was collecting data. Lines of code flashed across hidden screens. Advanced encryption methods created walls within walls. What looked like a defense was actually a trap. Nexus was feeding Jay exactly what he wanted to know. The cafe around Jay continued to buzz with normal activity. People drank coffee, worked on computers. No one knew a digital war was happening right next to them. Suddenly, Nexus realized something was wrong. Its systems were being read, analyzed, pulled apart piece by piece. The hunter was becoming the hunted. Jay discovered critical information. The Crimson Talons were more than just a hit squad. They were connected to something bigger, a conflict that went far beyond a simple assassination mission. The digital connection continued. Jay's custom-built systems were pulling apart Nexus's technology like someone taking apart a complex machine. Each line of code revealed a secret. Each electronic signal told a story. Coral, the team leader, began to realize something was wrong. The mission was not going as planned. In the internet cafe, Jay allowed himself a small smile. He had been preparing for this moment for years. Every skill from his special forces training, every computer trick he had learned, everything was coming together. Nexus tried to break the connection, but it was too late. Jay had already seen too much. Information about the Crimson Talon's true mission began to take shape. They were not just here to kill Jay. They were part of a much larger plan, a plan that involved multiple alien civilizations. The digital battle lasted only minutes, but in those minutes, everything changed. Nexus was defeated, not by force, not by weapon systems, but by information, by a human who understood technology better than a cybernetic warrior. Outside the cafe, New Seoul continued to move. People walked. Cars drove. No one knew how close they had come to a conflict that could have changed everything. Jay stood up and walked out. 4 attackers had come. 2 were already gone. The hunt was far from over. Coral knew something was wrong. The team's plan was falling apart. Vreen was gone. Nexus had been defeated. Now, only 3 members of the Crimson Talons remained. The team leader stood in a hidden base near the city. Metal walls surrounded him. Advanced technology blinked with soft lights. But Coral felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Razor, the shape-shifting assassin, moved around the room. Its liquid-like body changed shape every few seconds. Sometimes it looked like a tall humanoid. Sometimes it looked like a metal chair. Sometimes it was something in between. Shadowblade remained silent. This quantum-phasing assassin could move between different dimensions. Its body was barely visible, more like a dark outline that shifted between reality and something else. "We are being hunted," Coral said. His voice was deep and angry. Razor laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against metal. One human. Impossible. But Coral knew better. The information they had collected about Jay Park was incomplete. Something was missing. Something important. In another part of the city, Jay was preparing. He knew the final confrontation was coming. Years of special forces training had taught him how to prepare for moments like this. Every move was calculated. Every action had a purpose. Jay's apartment was no longer just a home. It was a weapon. Advanced electronic systems were ready. Hidden devices waited to be activated. The entire building could become a trap in seconds. Jay had turned his living space into the perfect battleground. Coral made a decision. He would attack personally. The reptilian creature prepared his most advanced weapons, technology that could destroy entire buildings, weapons that could break through any defense. He believed nothing could stop him, but Jay was waiting. The attack came quickly, too quickly. Razor entered first, its body changing shape every second. One moment a door, the next a wall, then a deadly weapon. The shapeshifter believed it could break through any defense. Shadowblade followed, moving between dimensions, appearing and disappearing. A ghost made of technology and darkness. Coral came last. His body was a weapon. Advanced technology covered his reptilian skin. Weapon systems could pop out from multiple points on his body. The battle began. The entire building came alive. Electronic systems fired. Hidden devices activated. The walls themselves became a weapon. Razor tried to change shape, but special frequencies disabled its abilities. The shapeshifter became stuck, unable to move, unable to change. Shadowblade discovered that moving between dimensions was impossible. Quantum disruptors created by Jay prevented any dimensional shifts. Coral pushed forward. His weapons were powerful. But Jay was always one step ahead. The battle was not just physical. It was a war of technology and strategy. Jay revealed something the Crimson Talons never expected. He was not just a target. He was a hunter, someone who had been preparing for this moment for years. The building shook, electronic systems fired, weapons activated. In the middle of the chaos, Jay remained calm. Everything was going exactly as he had planned. The final confrontation had begun. The dust settled. The building stood quiet, but something important had just happened. Jay Park stood in the center of what was left of his apartment. Around him, pieces of advanced alien technology lay broken. The Crimson Talons were defeated, but this was about more than just survival. An old communication device began to beep. Jod pressed a hidden button. A holographic message appeared, something that looked like it came from another world. 5 years ago, Jay had done something most people would never understand. He had stopped a war before it could begin. A conflict that would have destroyed multiple alien civilizations, but nobody knew the full story. Until now. The holographic message showed complex star maps, alien language codes, secret communication networks that connected different parts of the galaxy. Jai had been more than just a special forces operative. He was a guardian nobody knew about. The message revealed everything. Years ago, a massive alien crime syndicate had been planning something big. Not just a simple crime. They were preparing to start a war that would have killed millions of beings across multiple star systems. Most governments didn't even know how close they were to total destruction. Jay had been part of a secret team, a group of specially trained operatives who worked between different worlds. Their job was to stop conflicts before they could start, to protect civilizations that didn't even know they needed protection. The mission 5 years ago had been his most important work. He had infiltrated the syndicate, destroyed their main communication networks, removed key leaders without anyone knowing, a surgical strike that prevented a galactic war. But actions like that always have consequences. The Crimson Talons were sent as revenge. They were hired by the remains of the syndicate. Their mission was simple: kill Jod Park and make sure he could never interfere again. What they didn't know was that Jay had been preparing for this moment the entire time. The holographic message continued to play. It showed detailed information about the syndicate, their plans, their connections, everything Jay had discovered during his secret mission. Information that could change everything. Outside, the city of New Seoul continued to move. People walked on streets. Cars drove. No one knew how close they had come to a massive galactic conflict. Jay began to make phone calls. Not normal calls. Encrypted communications that would look like nonsense to anyone listening. Old contacts from his special forces days. People who understood the real stakes. The Crimson Talons thought they were hunting him. But Jay had been gathering information the entire time. Every attack. Every moment. He was collecting proof of the larger conspiracy. The message ended, but its impact would be felt across multiple worlds. Ja looked out the window. The city looked the same, but everything had changed. One person had stopped a war. One person had protected civilizations that didn't even know they needed protection. The hunt was over, but something much bigger was just beginning. 2 weeks after the battle, everything looked normal, but nothing was the same. Jay Park sat in a small government office. It wasn't an ordinary government building. This was a secret place that most people didn't know existed. Officials from different countries listened carefully as Jay explained everything. The information he had collected was bigger than anyone expected. The Crimson Talons were just the beginning. They were part of a larger network of alien groups that had been watching Earth, waiting, planning. The defeat of this hit squad meant something important. It showed that Earth was not an easy target. Jay explained how the alien syndicate had been planning to start a war. Not just a small conflict. A massive galactic war that would have killed millions of beings across different star systems. Most governments had no idea how close they had come to total destruction. They thought we were weak, Jay said quietly. His voice was calm. But there was something else underneath, a strength that came from years of training. The officials looked at the information. Star maps, Communication records, detailed plans of the syndicate. Each piece of evidence showed how close they had been to a massive conflict. Outside the window, the city continued to move. People walked. Cars drove. Nobody knew how close they had been to a galactic war. Jay's old contacts from special forces began to move. Not with weapons, with information. They started to build a network, a way to protect Earth from future threats. Something that could watch, learn, prepare. The defeat of the Crimson Talons was more than just a personal victory. It was a message to other alien groups. Earth was not an easy target. But Jay knew something else. This was not over. More groups would come. More threats would appear. The battle he had just won was just the beginning of something much bigger. His communication device buzzed. An encrypted message from someone he knew only as a contact. More information was coming. More threats were waiting. The government officials continued to look at the information. They understood now what Jay had known for years. Earth was not alone in the universe, and it was not defenseless. Jay thought about the Crimson Talons, about Coral, about Vreen and Nexus, about the mission 5 years ago, about all the conflicts that had been stopped before they could begin. One person can make a difference. One person can stop a war. As the meeting ended, Jay looked out the window. The city looked the same, but everything had changed. He was no longer just a cybersecurity consultant. He was a guardian, a protector, the first line of defense. Outside, the world continued to move. People went about their daily lives. Nobody knew how close they had been to total destruction. But Jay knew, and he would be ready. The hunt was over, but the war was just beginning.